Alright, I was gonna make a long video about line weight, but I realized it doesn't need a long video. It's not actually that complicated. So we're gonna start with the hair. So right here, this spot, if you're doing line art and you put your lines in, my brush is kind of helping me out, and that's the point of the brush, but where these two lines intersect, that's where you have this thick point, and as it moves away, they get thinner. So that's part one. Then they come down like so. Okay. This, because it's facing up, is going to get a little bit, but not as much. Okay. Now, here and here, kind of the same. This one can be a little bit darker because it's facing down. Now, the difference will be if I decide, well, I want this line to actually be sitting very flat on the head, or flatter, right? The more thickness and darkness to your line, the more distance you might assume. So if I make it real thin like that, this is likely sitting pretty close to her skin there. So up here we have another corner where these lines meet. So we're going to draw them in, and we're going to darken where they meet. And basically, the principle here is that this bit is just really pinching out the light. It's basically occlusion shadows. One of my favorite things. Okay, so now, if we come to, say, the elbow for some more line weight action here. So if I were to draw in the curves of the arm and the elbow, like so, and it's all kind of the same. So right here, where that curves in, if I want to accentuate that curve in, I'm going to make that bit a little bit thicker, following that curve. You can do a little bit very subtly on this other side, right? And then let's say you have a really strong light source coming from above. My eraser's a little too intense here. You might decrease the line weight even further on here. And this is twofold, okay? So the first reason you would do this is because you have so much light coming down. You know, it's just kind of drowning this all out. You're going to have probably a serious highlight coming along the edge here, maybe some rim lighting. That's going to reduce the visibility of that line. And the other part of that is when the elbow going up, it's this skin here is pulled tight. So when it's pulled really tight like that, that's when you're also able to thin out the line. So then around the corner here, so this is a nice big curve, and one way to help show the softness of that curve, especially with skin, is I'm going to leave the apex, so the outermost part of that curve, I'm going to leave thin, and I'm going to darken it as it comes down. Okay, now here you have two lines connecting, but this line is much further back in space than this line. So what do you do here? Well, if I were to do kind of the same thing and just darken its connection like so, that makes it look like these are touching. So this is an instance where two lines meet, and you don't want to do that. So what you do here, because I made this thicker because of the curve, I also want to make this thicker, but I want to make it thicker kind of across that whole thing. So thicker lines also represent lines that are closer to us. And I want it to be kind of spanning along here, not just here, but then make sure that it fades away nice and smooth before it gets to a part where you would want it to be thin again. Okay. So then that pretty much covers it for the basics of line weight. If you have any more questions about it, feel free to let me know, and I can either answer them or make another video.